Ladies and gentlemen, class of 2019 inductee, Bob Moody. John Robert Bob Moody was born on October 28, 1931, to Ellis E. and Addie Lou Floyd Moody in Asheville. Bob's family were descendants of the first settlers of the town of Moody in St. Clair County. Bob's parents were school teachers, and they settled in Boaz. As a youth, he worked on the farm and picked cotton. In 1945, E.E. became principal of Boaz High School, Bob's freshman year. As a student at BHS, Bob was very involved. He was a member of the B Club, the Beta Club, and was on the football team. He was also voted neatest in his senior Who's Who. While in high school, Bob began to sketch as a hobby. His parents supported his passion for art, and he pursued that passion. Bob graduated from Boaz High School in 1949 and enrolled in Auburn University to study architecture. After 4 years on the plains, he graduated in 1953 with a degree in architecture, specializing in interior design. Bob then set out for Dallas, Texas, where he began doing commercial art for R.G. Letourneau Technologies. In 1959, the Moody's returned to Alabama, and Bob took a job as a conceptual artist, producing illustrations and animations for NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville. While at NASA, Bob served as art director for future projects, primarily the moon landing. His work for NASA was published in a number of magazines, including Time, Life, and Paris Match. He also worked with Wernher von Braun, the chief architect of the Saturn V rocket. After 7 years at NASA, Bob moved to Birmingham to start the interior design department at Charles Macaulay & Associates, an architectural firm. In 1974, he opened his own office, Moody & Associates. For the next 28 years, Bob's firm worked on countless projects. His career included historic renovation of over 40 downtown buildings, which are featured in the Birmingham Historical Society's book, Cinderella Stories. He was largely responsible for the revitalization of 5 Points South. Many of Bob's design projects were published, and he was awarded a prestigious Southeast Designer of the Year 1998 for a corporate project by the Atlanta Decorative Arts Center. His design work has been featured in Contract magazine. Bob retired from his architectural firm in 2002, but he didn't retire from art. Since retirement, he has published 2 books, Gifts of Grace, Alabama Churches in Watercolor, and The Church Triumphant, English Churches in Watercolor. In 2003, he was asked to personally present the first copy of his Church Triumphant book to Queen Elizabeth and the Archbishop of Canterbury at the 50th celebration of the Historic Churches Preservation Trust at St. Bartholomew's Church, the oldest church in London. Moody has been a featured artist in Watercolor magazine, and he was featured in the Birmingham Historical Society's publication, Bob Moody's Birmingham, A City in Watercolor. His works have been featured in numerous private and public collections, publications, and shows, including an exhibition in New York City. Bob has been active in local politics as well. He served 2 terms on the Mountain Brook City Council, where he was instrumental in planning and zoning during a critical period in Mountain Brook's growth. On November 24, 1979, Bob married his wife Rebecca at Christ United Methodist Chapel in New York City. Bob has 3 children from a previous marriage, a deceased son, John, son Barry, and daughter Beth. Bob and Rebecca have a son, Luke. The Moodys have 5 grandchildren, Molly, Terrell, Aaron, Blair, and Savannah. The Moodys have lived in English Village since 1988 in one of the oldest homes in Mountain Brook, where it is often speculated that Al Capone took shelter. Above all else, Bob Moody considers himself an illustrator and likes to capture the history of all the places he visits. But most of all, he likes to paint where he lives, Birmingham. He continues to do that to this day. Ladies and gentlemen, Boaz High School Wall of Fame Class of 2019 inductee, Bob Moody.